o objetivo de reunir especialistas e iniciar uma rede de troca contínua de conhecimentos, informações e colaboração entre especialistas do Brasil e da Austrália, o professor Yigitcanlar, da Universidade de Queensland, estabeleceu um acordo de cooperação, o qual o sistema FEComércio faz parte, chamado Rede de Pesquisa e Prática de Cidades Inteligentes da Austrália-Brasil. Essa rede de cooperação entre os dois países iniciará neste momento, no KCWS, por meio de 5 Masterclass lideradas por especialistas que fazem parte da Universidade de Queensland e universidades brasileiras. Então, para iniciar essa primeira Masterclass, chamamos o doutor em Planejamento Urbano e Regional pelo Instituto Izmir de Tecnologia da Turquia e professor da Universidade de Tecnologia de Queensland, na Austrália, Dr. Tan, por favor. Para participar também dessas discussões, chamamos o subcoordenador do Programa de Pós-Graduação em Transporte e Gestão Territorial da UFSC, Dr. Luiz Alberto Gomes. Lembramos que ao final da explanação dos nossos panelistas, teremos um momento para discussões, onde vocês poderão participar através do WhatsApp.
Boa tarde. It's my great pleasure to undertake a double act in our inaugural Australia-Brazil Smart Cities Research and Practice Forum. As introduced, we have recently established a research network. The research network aims to bring Australian and Brazilian scholar practitioners together to solve the problems of our time. And this is the first of the 5 master classes. And this one focuses on a broader concept, how we can plan, what are the key principles in order to plan and address major challenges of our cities today. A Chinese traditional curse says that you may live in interesting times. I think they have targeted people of the 21st century. We are indeed going through very interesting times. Interesting meaning chaos, uncertainty, and lots of crisis. So I'll start the talk with those crises that we are going through. I call them challenges because we need to go and find solutions to those ones. The first, probably one of the most important issues is at the beginning of 19th century, the world has reached the 1 billion population. And there was only one city in the world with 1 million people, London. A century after, beginning of the 20th century, the population doubled and reached to 2 billion. It took only 75 years, perhaps 70 years, to another doubling effect, reaching the 4 billion. 2007, 7 billion, and today 7.6 billion. And the projections, worst case high population growth, 12 billion by the end of the century. Optimistic ones, around 9 billion. And this means that 300,000 years ago, we were only few 10,000s of early humans going through the end of the Ice Age and facing the challenge of survival. These few 10,000s of people overpopulated and almost become a cancer cell to their habitat, which is our planet. Our cities are, in 2007, half of the world population started to live in cities, so we become an urbanized planet 10 years ago. But where those people live. Majority of living in cities, and those cities are rapidly growing. And we have over 31 in 2016, mega cities over 10 million population. While densification is for planners, it's a good thing. We think that by densifying cities, we avoid urban sprawl. But what we are facing today is both densification and growth in the urban footprint. It means that while the populations are increasing in the cities, and the cities are growing both vertically and horizontally. And this is a major threat to the ecosystem. Another major challenge is it's not only growth in terms of urban surface, world surface, but also our activities are creating major pollution. And the key drivers of those mobility issues are transport needs. As the world's population has, at least some of it, becoming more opportunity in terms of income levels, we are traveling more. I had a very big guilt flying from Australia to Brazil because I knew that the carbon footprint that I created on the atmosphere by just one trip. Fossil fuel dependency, and we haven't still moved towards a cleaner energy sources. It's not only developing countries, it's only developed countries as well. Australian economy is mainly fossil fuel based economy. Despite the last 2-3 decades, there is massive focus on moving towards knowledge and innovation, cleaner technologies, but still we are there. The graphic is from Canada. It's showing that 30% of the pollutions are coming from transport, close to half of it from industrial and household energy needs, and the rest is agricultural and so on and so forth. We have inequality around the world. I can add more onto the previous Oxfam representatives' take on the world's top 8 billionaires being male. Actually, the top 10 are male, and they earn more than half of the world's wealth, while the other half of the world is suffering from basic infrastructure issues. It is not only the infrastructure and also education as well, and the health challenges. So the scenario is we are becoming urbanized planet. But favelas are part of the urban structure as well. So if you look at 2003, there were 1 billion illegal squatter houses or favelas in Brazilian term, out of 6 billion population. In about 25 years time, by the 2030, that will double. The population will be about slightly over 8 billion and 2 billion people. A quarter of the world population will be living in favelas, equivalent squatter houses. And predictions for 2050, 1/3 of the world population is favela lifestyle. 1/3 of the world population, over 1/3 of the world population, 3.5 billion people. Technology is at the rescue. Well, we have heard earlier some critical voices that maybe it's not that innocent. Coca-Cola is the major plastic bottle producer in the world. Facebook has involved in many scandals in UK, US elections, Brexit. Google's motto was "Don't be evil," not anymore. When they were a PhD student, they envisaged a company, tech company, and they had the motto of This big giant company will never be evil, but it is no longer. They withdraw this motto. Consumption, excessive use of resources, unnecessary use of resources. And we are polluting the oceans as well. There are islands of plastic islands in the oceans, and several of them. And consequences on the flora fauna. And every month 200 species are becoming extinct on the face of the earth, and this is continuing exponentially. Impact on the disaster, natural disasters. They are facing more earthquakes, they are facing more bushfires, and sadly, if these fires are actually happening in the lungs of the earth, Amazons, that's hurting everyone in the world, not only Brazilians. So a recent article that I read stating that if the current deforestation of Amazonia continues until the end of 2021, Amazonia will go into a state that it will not be able to recover its ecosystem from that onwards. This is a famous movie, I'm sure everyone watched it. Maybe younger generations saw the latest versions, the original one. But are we moving to this direction? I think we are, unless we have become more truly intelligent, or as Pacheco said, moving from knowledge to wisdom. This is the direction. We are going through a slow burn, and we are not doing much because it's happening slowly, and one day there will be no return. Okay, this was the pessimistic scenario. Can we move something a bit better? So there are some opportunities as well. So for some, smart cities comes to the rescue. In general terms, a smart city is a city paradigm that uses digital data and technology to increase the efficiencies in terms of economic development, increasing the quality of life, and addressing sustainability issues. So within the border of this definition, I call it a simplified version of smart city, would be like this. We have traditional infrastructures, roads, ICT, water, gas, power, so on and so forth. And then traditionally, we have services. You have water, it's distributed to your house. You have the meter. This municipal service will help you to have drinking water or water in your house. And then you consume it as a customer and you pay for the service. But what smart city is adding on top of this is creating a digital layer in between, on top of infrastructure and service layers. This is the novelty in the general terms of smart cities. So what this is adding is the digital layer, the technology layer is providing the management to be smart. So this is increasing the service quality. So maybe by introducing Internet of Things, sensors, you are detecting the leakages in the water pipelines. So addressing this. And also in terms of services, this is also creating new services too. For example, mobility as a service, bringing a set of subscription-based mobility options to the customers. So you no longer need to use one mode of transport, you can use predetermined set of, with monthly payments, transport solutions. This is making cities, different cities, So we are investigating the impact of Uber, potential impacts of autonomous vehicles, mobility as a service, artificial intelligence on the cities and societies. So this is in general the technological system of cities within the perspective of smart cities. Do we think that approach is enough to make our cities greener, more vibrant, preserve history, increase the efficiency of the infrastructure, making them more resilient, making them more green, boosting the economy, increasing the livability, making it more people-oriented, and increasing the accessibility, mobility, just through using these digital solutions? My answer is no, because the city earlier, I think Kathy mentioned about city as a system. Indeed, cities are systems like our bodies. There are various systems in our bodies, not our skeletons do everything, cardiovascular system, nervous system, skin, muscular, so on system. So cities are like this, so there are various systems. In a simplified manner, we have the social system, we have the economic system, ecological, political, and technological. And they are all interrelated. And they have all subsystems. Subsystems is other subsystems. For example, ecological system, climate is an ecological element, hydrology, water quality, quantity, so on and so forth. So among the system, which is systems of system, the general current interpretation of smart cities is that domain, the city as a technological system only. There are reasons for that, because we are adding things slowly on top of together. If you look at the evolution of smart cities, the origins, the modern origins date back to intelligent cities. Actually in Portuguese we call it cidades inteligentes, so it's exactly this definition. So that was the first approach to develop mostly with private technology companies to make cities adopt this new technology. Smart City 2.0 brought together the public sector, because it's not that easy to implement, change the infrastructure of cities without the local government involvement. And the next movement was making it responsive cities, engaging community views, making cities more humane. And the last one is bringing together the green to the city, bringing together the sustainability and marrying with smartness. So in a way, this is bringing techno-centric view and eco-centric view under the post-centric view and creating cities 4.0, smart city 4.0. So our definition is smart city is an urban locality that actually works as a system of systems, not only one system, but multiple systems and parallel each other, following the sustainable and balanced view of economy, society, environment, and governance, and creating the desired outcomes we would like to see. And it's not only for humans, it's beyond that. It's all flora, fauna, and ecosystems are involved in that. So this is a framework that I developed to conceptualize smart cities. So this is based on basic planning principles. So as urban planners, what we do is we work with the current assets, we plan through the various processes to provide the desired outputs, and we hope that these outputs will provide positive impact. So a city as an asset, as an input, and we have processes, 3 key processes: community, technology, and policy. And then this is ideally great outputs, economic outputs, for example, productivity and innovation, societal outputs, livability, well-being, environmental outputs, sustainability, accessibility, and governance outputs, planning, strategic planning, and good governance. And within the perspectives of knowledge-based development, we discussed this earlier, and sustainable urban development principles, that is hoped to provide the impact of creating truly smart and sustainable cities. Okay, it's easy to say that. This is a framework. It's a really nice framework, colorful. There are so many things, but how do we actually achieve that? Well, I have some ideas, some suggestions. First off is, conceptualization is the letter A of the alphabet. We need to look it from a different angle, not technocentric only. Technocentricity is a very critical element, but not alone. So we need to conceptualize our understanding of what we want to see from the future, from our cities. The second one is, without sustainability, cities cannot be smart. Smartness heavily depends on sustainability, and we need to consider what smart means. Does it mean intelligence? Does it mean that the city is smart or people in the city is smart? Decision makers smart. So it's critical. So there are quite a lot of resistance from the public. People want science to be followed by the policymakers to recreate new structures for our cities. Greta Thunberg started a movement. Extinction Rebellion wanted the truth to be told by the politicians. And also we have technology. Innovation has created good solutions. Electric cars, it's great. But how electricity is produced makes the difference. If the electricity is not coming from clean energy, it's same as using fuel or coal. And similar to air traffic as well. The third point I'd like to make is, well, technology is inevitable, but we need to be wiser in addressing these issues. So there is a famous saying is, hackathons, and we want technologies to hack cities. Yes, maybe this is good, but how we hack technology, how we hack cities through technologies, creating ski resorts in 50 Celsius degree deserts in desert in Dubai. Or, more recently, air conditioning outdoors in Qatar. Well, is this a wise way of using technology? Or we create Sondo, the most advanced smart city in the world so far. Well, is it really that smart? Look, we need to say a few things about Australia as well. We are creating in the heart of the Brisbane $3 billion Miss Wharf project. 7-star hotel, casinos. Is it following the same footpath of Dubai, Qatar, or Seoul? Is it really wise? We want tourism. It's a tourism destination, but would the project be like this? That's a question. So maybe we need to think out of the box. Rather than technology hacking city, maybe city needs to hack technology. Meaning that we can use the technology for good of the wider public. A $10 worth of filter can help people in Africa drink from polluted waters. Or a cheap solar panels can help people in the remote parts of the northern Thailand, students to study in their homes where there is no electricity. So obviously this is very attractive. I'm doing quite a lot of work on looking at artificial intelligence, autonomous technologies, mobility as a service on the impact on the cities. It all depends on how we use technology. Very similar to nuclear. We can use nuclear for good or bad. We can develop autonomous cities, autonomous mobility. Well, if it's going to be with private motor vehicles used autonomously, I think this is really bad. If people are going to live in Sao Paulo, sleep overnight in their autonomous vehicle, come and work in Florianópolis, well, I don't think it's a really good solution. And the fourth point is the strategy. We wanted technology. We need to be careful which technology, how we decide. And it also depends on the policies as well, how we strategize smart city development. So many cities around the world, I investigated minimum 30 of them, develop smart city strategies in detail, including Brisbane is one of them, and there are a few other of them. And last year when I was in Brazil, our research suggested the city of Florianópolis to get its own smart city policy. This is critical to create a roadmap that how you're going to tackle the smart city development down the track. Maybe one of the most important aspects is that the community. If the community is not smart, it's not possible to become smart. So that means education. That means transparency among the society. So there's this famous saying that it takes a village to raise a child. I think it takes a whole city, a whole communities to create a smart city. And the last point is that we need to learn from each other. So that could be different sectors, or different part of the communities, or different countries. The purpose of this forum is to establish a research network, research and practice network. It's not solely for academics, for practitioners as well, to create this collaboration, cooperation and co-creation of defining and practicing what a successful, smart and sustainable city is going to be. So I am wrapping up with a couple of publications for those who might be interested in looking further on smart city agenda. It's chronological development plus current systems, applications and implications with global examples from how these smart locations in the cities are developing, and involves few examples to take home and tailor and potentially adopt in these contexts as well. So here I'm passing on the microphone to my dear colleague, Professor Gomez. Then I would like to really hear that along this line his views and also how Australian cities and the technology sector is tackling these issues.
Boa tarde a todos. ¿Prefieren portugués o inglés? Espanhol. Puedo hablar também. Bom, vou fazer alguns comentários à excelente apresentação do professor Han. Primeiro, em relação às cidades. Cidades, sejam elas inteligentes ou não representam uma única cidade. São muitas cidades superpostas. Nós temos a cidade social, a cidade econômica, a cidade política e a cidade tecnológica. Desde que o homem deixou de coletar e caçar, nós temos essas três cidades, 10.000 anos antes de Cristo. Com o aparecimento da tecnologia, nós tivemos uma grande revolução por volta de 1980. Posso falar porque eu vivi, em relação à digitalização. A digitalização basicamente mudou tudo. A cidade social se transformou em comunidades virtuais. A cidade econômica virou cidade de economia circular, virou marketplace. A cidade política se transformou em governo inteligente, em consultas inteligentes. E a cidade tecnológica seguiu seu caminho através de grandes elementos que foram disruptores. nós estamos em um momento, eu te falaria, a tempestade perfeita. Porque a tecnologia está duplicando a cada 18 meses, conforme a lei de Moore. Isso significa que está duplicando em potência e os custos estão caindo pela metade a cada 2 anos. Nós temos o aparecimento da tecnologia celular, que permitem aos cidadãos coletarem ou enviarem informações em forma intencional ou não. Nós temos grandes empresas disruptivas. Nós temos Bed and Breakfast, nós temos Uber. Então, nós temos o aparecimento de comunidades virtuais. Então, toda essa ideia de cidade que nós temos, essa ideia de tecnologia mudou significativamente nos últimos 20 anos. Uma condição que tem que ser observada no planejamento de cidades inteligentes é que está formado por avanços e retrocessos. Nós temos realimentações, tanto na parte tecnológica quanto na parte social. É possível que daqui a 5 anos o Uber não seja mais permitido. Então, nós temos realimentações e essas realimentações vão afetar a vida da cidade, a resiliência da cidade, a sustentabilidade das cidades e a morte das cidades. As cidades têm um ciclo de vida. Ninguém tira a placa do nome da cidade, mas a cidade morre. Então, quando se trabalha com o planejamento de cidades inteligentes, nós temos um problema que os prazos dessa realimentação são muito longos. Se eu abro uma rua que conecta 2 bairros, ou coloco uma ponte que liga 2 bairros, os resultados dessa ponte, dessa rua, pode ter 100 metros, vão ser observados daqui a 15 ou 20 anos. Se eu abro uma escola em um bairro, uma creche em um bairro, os resultados dessa abertura dessa creche vão a ser observados em 15, 20 anos. Então, o planejamento é extremamente complexo, não é uma coisa linear e pode ir para qualquer outro lugar. É por isso que a gente chama de esses sistemas como sistemas complexos. Não é possível fazer um modelo de que abrindo uma rua vou melhorar a vida das pessoas daqui a 15 anos. Outra situação que eu quero mencionar é que nós temos muitas vezes problemas de jurisdição. Muitas vezes a infraestrutura está mudando. Nós temos, por exemplo, na rede elétrica medidores convencionais e estão coexistindo com eles medidores inteligentes, smart grids. Só que a forma de trabalhar de cada um deles é totalmente diferente. Provavelmente são operados por empresas diferentes. Então, existe um problema de jurisdição. Nós temos um triste exemplo aqui na grande Florianópolis em relação ao sistema de transporte. Todo mundo fala da mobilidade como serviço, mas se eu quero andar 8 quilômetros do centro da cidade em direção ao continente, eu atravesso um município. Aí eu não posso ir de táxi de um município para outro, 8 quilômetros. Se eu quero pegar um ônibus, o ônibus não consegue, eu não consigo pagar com um cartão único. Eu tenho que ter vários cartões para cada município que eu atravesso, provavelmente. Não tenho concordância de horários, tá certo? E o pior de todos, que é uma penalidade enorme para as pessoas. se eu tivesse um único cartão que eu pudesse fazer integração, eu pagaria metade da passagem. E isso me representa para uma família em torno de 300, 400 reais por mês. Me representa provavelmente 5, 6, 10 horas de tempo. E esse tempo poderia, ou esse dinheiro adicional, poderia ser usado para outros fins. Educação, conhecimento, como foi colocado aqui. Ok? Bom, então basicamente é isso aí. Não sei se ficamos abertos a perguntas. Obrigado.
Can I add a few words? And I'm very pleased to hear that the mobility issue is being seriously tackled here. And it was a conversation with several of colleagues that because when I lived in Florianópolis, we had to buy a car. There was no other way of having any transport options because you cannot travel within the island with any other source of option. And forget about crossing the other side to the mainland because the bridge is always blocked. If you are traveling in the rush hour, you wait for a very, very long time. So integrated planning, transport planning, mobility planning is critical. I know that there are many challenges, and I'm pleased to hear that mobility as a service is becoming an option here as well, despite there are problems that these are problems that similar countries, Australia is facing too, because it's really difficult being the early adopter of this mobility as a service system. Amsterdam had a successful trial, but not everywhere is Amsterdam. And similarly, Helsinki is a similar success story, but this is mainly because they have a very well advanced public transport system, affordable public transport system. And reaching the existing strong public transport system, mobility as a service is an option to providing demand responsive, more flexible transport. I think it's easier. However, on the other hand, this city and Santa Catarina in general has major mobility challenges in terms of public transport. So implementing mobility as a service masses in a place that public transport doesn't work well, it's extremely challenging. That might push us again. The key problem is here, everyone's on motorbikes or cars. And if the public transport system doesn't work effectively, by using the mobility as a service, mostly non-public transport, mass transport options will increase the bottlenecks, that you continuously will build bridges, and this will not, it's the black hole theory. So thank you very much for enlightening us with the perspectives from the local perspectives, particularly in the planning and transport area. So we can take questions. This is the number for you to send your text messages to WhatsApp, and I believe someone will pass these messages to us, so we will address them. An email until the questions comes. I am so pleased to be away for 10 months. I left in January and I come back in November, and the city has changed a lot. So you have a new airport terminal, which is impressive. And the Hercilio Luz Bridge is, I think it's promised to be opened soon. Maybe we want to comment a little bit on this bridge because it's an iconic bridge. We have a sister bridge, same engineering company built a smaller version of that in Brisbane. I think it's about 100 meters, where yours is about kilometers, 10 times bigger. But I always saw the bridge as a, representing the city, the creative base, the design, the engineering is strong, but the governance and maintenance is lacking. And I'm very pleased to hear that I am wrong. The governance and maintenance is actually working too. The bridges will be operational, and hopefully next time when I come here I'll be able to walk or take a public transport on the bridge.
The bridge is not only for transport, it's a state of mind, like the British.
So we have a question on how to escalation in a smart city. I'm not sure whether I understand the question very well. Technology alienation, is this something to do with digital divides within a smart city? How we tackle those ones who don't have access to opportunities and technology solutions? Okay, digital alienation. Well, this is the inequity issue. So those ones could be age-related issues, or it could be disability, it could be life choices and preferences. Like one of my colleagues here, I won't tell who he is, we have been pressuring him the last few years to install WhatsApp so we can communicate with him. He says, no, it's not safe to install WhatsApp. So he doesn't believe to install apps in the phone because he thinks conspiracies. So it's nothing to do with that we are uneducated or poor, but it might be personal preferences that you don't trust. That trust issue. And that disadvantage you if the systems are purely based on technological solutions. So a truly smart city, I think, needs to address these issues that considering either age or lifestyle or disability or needs to be addressed in alternative ways too. So there's not only one solution. There should be different perspectives to tackle the thing, and what happens if technology collapses? That's an issue too. Then the cyber wars are the wars that we don't see and know between major countries in the world. I'm sure our country is involved in this activity. Somehow the public doesn't know this. Are at the cyber world. It's not only alienation, but what are our backup plans if the power plants doesn't work? How long Brisbane or Florianópolis can last without electricity? So these are the issues that, again, the planners and the governments need to look into very carefully.
En principio, a tecnología podría ser invisible aos cidadãos. No se preocuparem com a tecnologia, ela está aí, está omnipresente, ubiqua, mas a interação é feita de forma transparente para os cidadãos.
So the question is here, saying that considering Brazil is a federation, it means there are different state systems very similar to Australia, and then practice governance are very different in those different states. What would be the role of the state government in formulating policies for smart cities? Would you like to go first this time? The question is asking the role of in the smart city policy making, state government role. So in general, we talk about more local government, local level, but what's the role of state government?
We have seen in other presentations on some effort from the federal government for promoting the smart cities. but it's done city by city. It's not a policy for the whole country. I think that the policymaker should implement some kind of government for means of transparency on their activities, in their purchase. I think that this will be enough. The smart city can control and regulate by itself.
Yes, I think the role of state government would be maybe developing some standards so different cities and prefectures within the state wouldn't develop different technologies, or if, for example, if the road network, smart road network is developed, it doesn't end at the end of the municipal boundary. So that would continue and integrate with the rest of, so developing the standards and establishing a model for best practice for integration. And also, we know that in any state there are wealthier prefectures, municipalities, and disadvantaged ones, poorer ones. So from the ethical perceptions that maybe state governments through the funds could support those ones that are lagging behind and help in catching up, at least not become too disadvantaged or isolated than the rest of the flourishing local government areas.
One thing I think that the government can do is establishing standards. A standard for data communication, a standard for open software, that procedure will level the play. Every company, small or big, can participate in the big market that smart cities represent.
Yes, the regulation is critical in terms of economic, societal, technological, environmental aspects. Could be probably viewed from that broader perspectives more clearly. Okay, we have another question. In poor and emerging countries, cities or ghettos, there is basic things that are not real perspectives of immediate solving, as education, food, collective sense, etc. On that way, do we have more practical point to start or different approaches of knowledge development for that can be considered? Yes, indeed. So when we are talking about smart cities, we are not talking about high-end 22nd century super eclectic cities for elite people who can afford to live there. Maybe this is the initial practices, but a medium size, a medium income city can easily become smart city too. So again, what smart is not necessarily, we are referring to luxury. Delivering all municipal services and amenities and infrastructure adequately, I think, justify that city to become smart city. Combating poverty, combating illiteracy is a smart city policy too. So this is aligned quite well with knowledge-based development paradigm because while we are using technology, I think we should be very considerate of not wasting the resources that can be used and belongs to the all citizens. So addressing these socio-economic challenges, health challenges are primary concerns of any city. And addressing those would make the city a smarter one. Do we have another? Thank you. What is the role of the state in structuring slums? How do the state deals with providing emporiums and employment and opportunities for lower economic people in the case that the Smart City project entered? This is important social issue. Yes, indeed, this is very similar to previous. We need to address the inequities, socioeconomic inequities in our cities. And smart city thinking can help addressing this. So our cities need to be humane, our cities need to be just and fair to all citizens. So again, unlike the examples, for example, Sondo from Incheon or Masdar from Abu Dhabi, we shouldn't be developing cities for those ones who can afford the smart cities, who can afford to live there. Smart cities should not be solely for white-collar creative class of knowledge workers. Unfortunately, these areas, San Francisco, this is happening probably in Florianópolis as well, because it's improving its infrastructure and knowledge and innovation edge. The island is becoming probably less affordable for many, and international companies or Brazilian tech industries are clustering within the island. So I haven't seen this statistic, but I'm assuming that this is leading to degree of gentrification. The local inhabitants of the island probably need to move to the mainland to live where they can afford it, because this is a trajectory happens in many of the cities. So while we are increasing the environmental qualities, living standards in a city, that might displace some people. We need to make cities more affordable. This is, I think, a major challenge. But this is what San Francisco experiencing. San Francisco, Austin, Texas are extremely unaffordable for the ordinary citizens. And this is increasing, for example, homelessness levels in San Francisco. This is the hub of the US technology hub, but it's not affordable. It's for a group of people who can afford that. So there is probably local campaigns, and state government should help with that as well, developing strategies and policies to make sure that cohesive but diverse communities live in those smarter areas.
I think the final idea of smart city is making the life of the citizen easier. If you take in the line of thought of stamp, Paris is extremely expensive, but the mobility that is offered for the inhabitants allows them to live 30, 40 kilometers from their work. So it was a time in Sao Paulo when you want to get a job, the first question is, where do you live? If you live far away, you don't get a job. Today, I think that with improvement in mobility, this is not the first question. We have here the problem of the Expresa 282 is terrible. A single accident closed our city. And this can be improved usando mobility as a service or the idea of smart city.
So one question is directed to me, and that person is, anonymous person is asking, the framework that I introduced is asking whether it has been applied anywhere, any city. and whether any examples exist on this approach in the cities. So I would really like Florianópolis and also Brisbane, my two cities that I'm affiliated in both universities of these cities, to be the first in implementing these frameworks. Actually, we worked really hard to produce a report that we started to work in 2018 when I was here, when I was at UFSC for 1 year with my colleagues. We finished the part 1 of the report that we're supposed to finalize and launch the final project report that is funded and supported with Prefectura, Florianópolis state government, Comercio, and few other organizations, including UFSC and QUT. And I think we are going to release the report, I say as a joke, before the Hercülio News Bridge opens. So before the end of this year. And actually we have quite useful insights how Innovation Island Florianópolis could become Smart Floripa. And in the case these suggestions we would put forward, and I lobbied here with my colleagues from particularly Prefectura to actually have the third stage of the project next year and give us the team opportunity to work further on that. So there might be a possibility that actually you guys might be implementing that framework. We co-created through time, myself working with many of my colleagues, including Professor Eduardo of UFSC's Lecces, and many colleagues from QUT, including Marcus Ford. So there might be a possibility, hopefully down the track, to see the impacts of this policy, community, and technology trilogy to be somehow implemented in the smart city understanding and practices of cities. Why is it so difficult to implement water transport in Florianópolis, considered we live in an island or next to it? That's an excellent question. So I would like to hear, as a local resident, a professor of UFSC, it's an island. There's only one, now 2 bridges when it's open, connecting us to the mainland. Why there is no water transport?
We have a problem with you cross the bahías, and then what? You can cross the bahía from San Jose, from Paleosa, arrive in Bahía Sur, and so what do you do to get into the UFSC, to get into Ingleses? We fall in the same problem that we have now with our mobility. Also, it's a problem of jurisdiction, because the boat have to leave another municipal and arrive in Florianópolis. A lot of discussions between the prefectures in relation with this transport. Also, who lives in Florianópolis knows that when the south wind blows, no boat sails.
So I think my observation that the prefecturas doesn't work together very well, unfortunately, in Santa Catarina, probably other places too. The governance, smart governance, requires that cooperation between 3-tier governments, not only the local governments not working together, local governments, state government and federal government need to work together. And Kathy mentioned about quadruple helix, the whole of government approach within public, academia and community and private sectors. So I think this will be our final question. how to work smart city systems in cities that do not even talk to each other. That's the same integration, cooperation, collaboration issue. How can the citizen do to force these alliances between governments and institutions? So how Santa Catarina's people could push governments to actually talk to each other, work together and create positive projects and outcomes for the citizens.
There is a group that is coordinating the Grande Florianópolis municipalities, but it does not have the force, not enough strength for forcing a given mayor to do something. But there is an organ that is coordinating all the efforts. There is also the Fiesta Industrial Federation, who command this group for improving logistics and transport in the state.
So I think in general, pretty much every country, if you are from the different political parties, you don't collaborate very voluntarily, very easily. I had one personal experience in Finland that was probably an exception to the norm, that different political parties actually work together quite well in the regional scale. We have challenges, some challenges in Australia as well. I think we are moving to a direction that collaboration is the culture of different local governments working together, especially at the regional scale. One of the recent examples is the Southeast Queensland, the metropolitan area of Brisbane, has put a bid to host 2036 or 36 Olympics as a region, not as a city. So there are 10 local governments in this area, and they are from very different political spectrum. They all come together, and they have established Southeast Queensland's mayor's group and council, mayor's council, Southeast Queensland Mayor's Council, and 10 of them are actually working together to establish the infrastructural and major issues of the city, so we might have a shot in holding the Olympics. And we do Airbnb our home and then go on a holiday somewhere else during the Olympics. Okay, I think our time is up. Please join me thanking Professor Gomez for his insightful inputs on the presentation that I put together.
Agradecemos